I'm ranked for Boston Piano Tuner, #2 below Yelp, which was, I think, impressive back then. Then I did some stuff for my dad. That's one of my dad's businesses, the first result there. So point being is like, this is leading up to this chart. This is something that happened in 2015. I got a call by Noah Kagan. He's the founder of sumo.com, employee number 30 at Facebook. He's kind of a name in the entrepreneur world. Who here has heard of Noah Kagan? Anybody? A few people? So it's not very super impressive. I just name dropped his name, but he gave me a call and he said, we're trying to grow Sumo's blog and we've been stuck. They've been like under 1,000 visits a month forever. And he said, we want to hire you, but we need ideas in 2 days. I said, okay, great. Hung up the phone, did a bunch of research, came back with some ideas, and then I spent 3 months working with his head writer and content person, and that 3 months of work resulted in that chart there. It was a 20x traffic growth over a 6-month period. And that was the first time that I really saw firsthand and got in the weeds on the process that I'm going to share tonight. So that leads to mistake number 1, which I'll explain in a moment. But what I want to share tonight from here forward is practical stuff. Like I said, you can go to the advanced SMX conferences, you can read all the blog posts about like all these fancy things, technical things, advanced SEO stuff. But the bottom line is I know pretty much most people in the room here are going to benefit from this stuff that I'm going to share because it's the practical stuff that's going to get you actual traffic and results. So this animated video is supposed to show that one of these things does not belong in this image. The crazy looking little cat there. And this brings me to mistake number 1. I see it all the time. People are trying to rank for the wrong keywords. So I want to break down the criteria of what makes a really good keyword. And it's a lot of things. The first thing is volume. So I see people, they come to me all the time and they say, Dan, I want to rank for this thing, whatever that keyword is. And I go and look at the volume and it's 0. And I'm like, okay, you want to rank for that, but that's not going to accomplish anything. So the first thing your keyword needs to have is volume. And I think for a lot of us that's common sense, but I still see people miss that. So here's an example of a keyword, and there's a myth that I want to dispel about volume. So I picked a keyword, marketing slogans, according to this tool, which is called Keywords Everywhere, by the way. It's a free tool you can apparently type and download and install on Chrome and get keyword data for free. It's saying there's 1,600 searches a month for the word marketing slogan. So I have a question for all of you. If you write an article around marketing slogans and you rank #1 for that, how much traffic do you think you're going to get? Do you know my trick? Because if you know it, I don't want you to spoil it.
I don't know it, but I believe you're going to get 50 clicks a month.
50. Okay, great. You did not spoil my trick here. Anybody else want to take a guess? How much traffic?
10%?
Okay, yeah. Taking a click-through rate curve, yeah, it might be 10%, 20%. The answer might surprise you, actually. So this, what I'm going to show you in the next slide, is the stats for the article that ranks #1 for marketing slogans. And I know I kind of tricked all of you. I'm sorry, but I did it to prove a point. 24,600 visits a month to that one article on HubSpot. And they rank #1 for marketing slogans. Anybody take a guess as to why the math is working like that? How did I kind of give you a trick question? Yeah.
Well, because it's ranking for other terms that...
Bingo. Yeah. The average article on the web ranks for thousands of keywords, hundreds of thousands of keywords. In fact, if you all go into your search analytics and you click on one page and click on the keywords, you're going to see dozens or hundreds of thousands of keywords. So that's how the math works. So I want to show that example to say that even if you find a keyword that has 10 searches a month, you should, and maybe still go after that if all the other criteria I'm going to show you matches up, because you can get a lot more traffic than just those 10 searches. Second criteria is relevance. I have a little story from yesterday. So I've been working with WGBH for a little while. And I can share this example because it's not like sharing anything internal or whatever, but I met with their sponsorship department because they want to get more people to buy ads through them, sponsorships on their shows and whatnot. And I said, okay, I'm going to give you an assignment. Make a list of all the keywords you think you want to rank for. Make sure they have search volume. and get back to me and tell me what you found. And then I went away and came back a month later. They showed me the list, and they said, not only did we find all these keywords, we started adding them in our content. And I said, okay, great. What are the keywords? And they gave me the list, and they said one of them was ad specs. As you can see, it's in my search history. So what do you notice about these results here? Does it make sense for them to rank here? Do these results even make sense? So when you look at this, what Google's returning, because it's sort of a weird, ambiguous search, is like, it's really unclear what the user's looking for there. Are they looking for print ad specs, banner ad specs, TV ad specs? It's really, really not specific. And so even though it might sort of be a random keyword they maybe want to show up for, it's not a relevance match. So it doesn't make sense for them to target that. And it sounds like common sense, but literally almost every company that I do consulting for is making this mistake in one way or another. So you want to make sure all your keywords are actually relevant, and the only way to do that, and I know it sounds like a lot of work, but if you go to Google and you search it and you look at the results. And of course you can do this on sample keywords, some you might know intuitively, but you really, really want to make sure there's a relevance match. Okay, and I've decided just to list the rest out because we're going to move things along. So I see a lot of times too, people want to try to rank for something they have no business trying to rank for. If you're a little small marketing company, you're not going to rank for the word marketing. You're not going to rank for the one single keyword PPC. And I'm going to show a little bit in a moment how to assess the competition of something. And I want to do that with a live demo. So does anybody want to do me a favor and like get out their stopwatch on their phone? And I want to give this live demo 3 minutes so we don't let it go on too long. And whoever wants to do that for me, let me know. And what I want to do is take one volunteer to tell me your site and your topics and some things that you're thinking about maybe trying to rank for. And I'm going to do some live little research demo here to show the keyword research criteria in a live process. So do I have a volunteer? Free help.
A volunteer.
Yes. What is your site or business?
It's Mind the Gap PR.
Oh, did I meet you?
We've never met.
No?
Maybe in another life.
Yeah, maybe.
MindTheGapPR.com.
Okay, do we have somebody with a stopwatch? Okay, are we going?
Ready?
Oh no, we're already 10 seconds in. Okay.
Oh, you got it already?
Okay, great. All right, just give me like a minute warning or something like that. Okay, do you blog or write content? Okay, so let's come up with some topics for you to write about. Have you written about like pitching or email formats, or like what types of things do you want to help your target audience with?
I'm crisis communications, so
Okay,
cyber risk,
great.
crisis comm.
So here's a great example. You definitely probably don't want to target just cyber risk, but let me show how I make that judgment without doing it just sort of intuitively. So your website using the Mozbar plugin has a domain authority of 25. So that's your link authority, that's your ability to rank based upon link metrics. So when I search cyber risk in Google, and I'm using the Mozbar, let me just turn it on here, I'm wasting my time without having it set up correctly. A very fast way to assess to say, can I rank for something, is just quickly scan the results. If every single result is above you, and I mean not like you're 34, they're 35, like substantially above you, it's a no-go. Don't even bother. So one thing I'm seeing that's interesting is a 17, but that's like a homepage of an exact match domain name, so that's a little bit of an exception. So this is using domain authority to say, okay, I'm a 34, let me search the keyword I think I want to rank for, and when you're seeing 94, 94, 68, 50, that's like way too competitive. So what I would do from there is then use Google Search Suggest. And again, that's the Keywords Everywhere plugin. How are we doing on time? Good? You don't want to tell me? Just good? Just keep going? Okay. So what I would start to do is look for something that's showing a little bit lower search volume that I think is a little more long tail and specific. So how about cyber risk management? 1 minute, perfect. Okay, great. Now I'm seeing a 28 right here. I'm seeing a 90, but now it's looking a little, the 28 was promising, so I'm going to keep going. And this is a little bit of a process of just trial and error. I don't know what, do you know what appetite statement is? cyber risk appetite statement. It just showed up. It is.
Again, could you give like a layman's definition of domain authority?
Yeah, let me do it after the clock. Thanks, Ted. Okay. So this one actually is not bad. I'm seeing 24, 28, etc. And if you start looking at what's ranking here and saying, you know what, if I show up here and if my target potential client or audience searches and lands on my article here, that's a good traffic or good visit for me, then that's your relevance match. And so you've hit the relevance match, you've determined you can possibly rank there because you're seeing lower domain authorities in the search results. And then also if you look at it and you say, you know what, I'm looking, darn. Let me just put the last thing in. If other things look lower quality than what you create, like if you look at it and you're like, oh my god, this content sucks, it's terrible, and I can write something better, then go ahead and do that. And you've hit your sort of 3 gaps for ranking potential. Okay, domain authority, for Ted's question, thank you Ted, is Moz's attempt to match Google's PageRank. Google's PageRank is based upon the PageRank patent, which is named after Larry Page, not a web page. Little fact there for you. And it's just the link authority of a website. And so that's Moz's way to try to give you a guess as far as what that might be. That live demo was tough. Okay. So I want to fly through to make sure that we get to the other parts of this. So let me back up one step here. So essentially, when you're looking for keywords to rank for, the first thing to say is like, should I actually even go after this? Volume, relevance, can you possibly rank? And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about, like, if you rank for it, are you going to get clicks? Or are there other things in the results, like maps and knowledge boxes and images that are going to deter users from clicking? And then we're going to get to what an unambiguous search query is. The punchline to all of this, step number 1, is you should end up with a list like this. And feel free to like screenshot this, or I'll email you the slides after. It's a list of potential topics ranked by the traffic potential, like I showed you in SEMrush for that HubSpot article. And then I just do a little medium, high, or low ranking potential assessment. And then you can just sort by traffic, filter out all the mediums and lows, and then go to town creating your content. The second mistake I see is, okay, you've decided the right keyword, but then people will try to rank the wrong page. And that's a big problem too, because if you're targeting a keyword but you're not using the correct page, you're never going to rank for it. So I'm going to break down exactly what I mean by the wrong page or the right page. Can anybody finish this? Closing. See, when I see this, I hear him saying this: always categorize your keywords by intent. That's what I hear. And this is super important. So I want to break down the different intents of keywords, because if you don't get this, you're not going to rank. You're not going to understand what type of page to create. There are 3 basic search intents. This is actually something Google talks about, and it's just a common sense way to think about searches. You have a transactional or a do search. This is men's shoes for sale, or marketing services, or download a movie. It's the user trying to do a task, purchase something, or hire somebody for a service. Then you have a no search query, otherwise known as informational. And that's the user trying to research. They're trying to learn. They might want to find a blog post or an article. And then you have go searches, that's what Google calls it, or branded. That's somebody going and typing Newport Interactive Marketers because they know they want to get to that website. It's navigational because they know where they want to get. They're just using Google to figure out how to get there. You can feel free to screenshot this as well. This is from a course that I taught for Conversion Excel. And this breaks down the differences between informational and commercial. And as you can see, there's a lot of synonyms. Like some people call informational keywords content keywords, or blogging keywords, or no keywords. And then conversely, for commercial, you've got transactional, product, service, etc. But the punchline to all this is, for informational and content keywords, that's where you create your content marketing, your blog posts, your articles, your resources, your videos, the stuff where you're teaching people or sharing information. The transactional intent keywords is where you create your product pages, your service pages, your lead gen pages, where people will transact. How do you tell the difference? It's as simple as just searching Google or knowing intuitively. So if you're not sure, go to Google, search a keyword. If you see things like shopping ads, PPC, other results that are product pages or service pages, that is a transaction intent keyword. Don't try to rank a blog post for that. Conversely, if you search an informational keyword, you're not going to see many ads. You might see a few, but you're not going to see shopping, you're not going to see other product pages. That's where you want to rank a blog article or a piece of content. That is not where you're going to rank a product page. And that's a mistake I see people making all of the time, is they're trying to rank their product and services for informational intent keywords, and that's never going to happen. Okay, so then there's another way to categorize, and I just laugh when I see Alec there. Always categorize your keywords by type, and here's what I mean by that. Once you determine if you have an informational keyword, not all those pieces of content are going to look and feel the same. You have to do a further level of categorization after that. I want to bring back our protein and eggs example here again to share that this is what I would call just a fact search. It's somebody using Google, not so much really nowadays to find a web page, but they're just looking for facts. So if you're using Google to search like, how tall is the Eiffel Tower, or was the actor in this movie, or it's just something fact-based, very often you're going to get the knowledge panel, Google's answer at the top. Google's just giving you the answer. This is a search query to avoid, in my opinion, unless you have a very high authority site or you are very much in the position to rank for this. But here's all the other types of searches that I think you should try to rank for and then appropriately categorize your keywords for. So like I said, the first one is fact. You generally avoid that. But then, if you see somebody searching like, what is PR, or definition of PR, that is a what is search, or sometimes just a topic overview search. And for that, you would have a page describing that topic, giving the definition, giving an overview, etc. This works very well if you're just trying to educate your potential website visitor about that topic in general. Then you're going to about why is something important. You see keyword modifiers like the user typing importance or benefits of, or why should I use PPC? They're going to kind of indirectly give you that language in the search query. And then again, you can look at Google and you'll see other things ranking that are saying why and important and benefits of. You can write a how-to. Very often there's a verb in that, tie a tie, fix a car, etc. You can do a list post. Oftentimes you see a plural word in that, examples, books, conferences, etc. People are looking for a list of ideas or a list of resources. And then the one I'm going to go into a little bit more in depth is what I might call a hybrid or a mixed. This is where the search query is a little ambiguous. The search might just be marketing automation, or it might be dental hygiene or something like that. Like the user hasn't told you in the search query itself if they're looking for a list or a how-to or a what is. And then it's your job to figure that out. We're going to get to a few examples. So here's actually one that I would label as a what is search. I see this all the time. So very often when you get a user searching for just the topic, and that's the keyword and that's it, it's an overview, it's a definition search, it's a what is search. This is the person, you can see and you can know that by studying the search results. Because the results are, what is a mechanics lead? Very often when you see the Wikipedia page, that is a what is or overview search. Understanding mechanics lead, and even right in the people also ask, it says what is a mechanics lead in Texas. These are ones that I didn't include in my other list, but these are examples of searches that it's pretty obvious what the content should look and feel like based upon the search query. These are keywords to go after when you're doing your keyword research, thinking about planning content, because the user's told you, I want Shopify versus Etsy. That's not super complicated or unobvious what to create for them. They're looking for a comparison. The user asking for living room ideas. That's pretty direct. They want ideas for decorating their living room, etc. Marketing podcasts, iPhone 8 review. Okay, so we're going to do another live demo. What I want to do is get 3 keyword examples from 3 different people. It could be just your main keyword, your product category, your service category, and I'm just going to do a quick analysis to show if they're product or informational intent, and then label which informational intent they are. And I want 2 minutes on the clock for my timer for this one. And I need, once I get the 3, do I have at least the first volunteer to give me a keyword you're thinking about, or?
Well, just one word?
It doesn't have to be one word, just a keyword or key phrase that.
I'm going to put it out, it's going to be ambiguous. ICW.
Oh my goodness, okay. And this is like a thing?
Well, it's Intercoastal Waterway.
Okay,
it's
so.
on the right-hand side, which most people don't know what it is.
And, well, ICU group, is that different?
No, it is different.
Yeah. So this is a nuance of a branded search that you talk about. Like, so in other words, when somebody searches Apple, are they looking for the fruit, or are they looking for Apple, the company? So give me something that's not branded, that's not like a navigational search.
Right. Sailing.
Sailing, okay.
Sailing charters.
I want to restart that.
I'm going to try to fit it in. Yeah. Okay, so sailing charter. So what is the intent here? So that's a great example because it's a very ambiguous search. So first I'm seeing a map. So then I'm thinking, okay, maybe there's a local service intent where somebody is trying to actually find a sailing charter. So then I'm going to look at the organic results. Site sailing, destinations, sailing, sailing, sailing. So this is very obviously an intent to find a local service or like activity. Okay, that's number one. Do you have one?
Car donation.
Car donation? Okay, so I'm seeing ads, but I'm seeing a definition here. Car donation wizard, donating your car, DMV, donation, Make a Wish, Rhode Island. This is a good one. I'd say this is definitely a transactional search. The user is looking to take that action. Yeah. And then, so when you find a transactional search, then your job is to figure out what type of product or service page should I try to rank for this. And then, we could go off on a tangent on that, but that's where I would go deeper with that one. Do you work with car donations? Okay. If you have questions after, let me know. Do I have one more example to classify? Yes?
Labradorite. It's a gemstone.
Oh, I like it. Okay.
Labradorite.
D-I-T. I'm terrible at spelling. Oh, okay. Yeah.
There it is. Yep.
Meaning, healing, definition. Okay, so this one's very definitely a what is or definition search. Yeah, you can tell by seeing the examples there. So we didn't get anything like super complicated, but hopefully that should give an idea of just searching Google, looking at what Google is showing you to then classify and categorize your keywords based upon intent. How do we do in time?
2 seconds. 1 second.
Wow, all right. There we go. Did better on that one. So next, we've determined a keyword. You've categorized that keyword by intent and by content type. Now what you want to do is analyze what's ranking in Google to come up with your outline or structure for that content. And so here's an example of a search that was best languages to learn. And I want to just show this example. This is from the Agents of Change show. I don't know if this is totally fitting into the flow of this exact presentation here, but this was just showing an example of a list intent. The user has typed best languages to learn, and then by looking at the results, 8 useful languages, most important to learn, top languages to use, let us help you decide. Most of the results here are showing to us that probably the intuition you had for best languages to learn is the user wanting a list-based post of examples. So I wanted to show that as a clear example of an intent. But then I wanted to show one that was unclear. And this was an actual real keyword research process that I did for sumo.com recently. The keyword was behavioral segmentation. I actually found this as an opportunity to rank, and then because of like different domain authority gaps, etc. And then I presented to them, and then we had to figure out what to actually create for it. And so the first thing you should do when you're trying to figure out what content to create is search Google and then analyze what you're seeing here. So this was one I chose because I'm seeing definition, then I'm seeing 10 methods, then you're seeing it explained with examples, 13 effective ways. Like, this is a complete hybrid mixed result. It's not clear what the user wants. So if you run up to against something like this, this is where you want to design a hybrid piece of content. And then what I want to show here is you can use these as clues as well in Google to figure out what to create. People are searching these other longer tail terms off of behavioral segmentation. So characteristics, strategies, variables, we're seeing the related questions that people also ask. These are all clues as well to what the user's trying to learn about that topic. I don't know why that slide's in here yet. This is the real outline that we landed on. So this is kind of the punchline to this segment of the talk. And the action item is that once you decide your topic and you review Google, to actually make an outline like this that outlines the various basically headers within the content and the structure of your content. So we came up with a hybrid piece of content because it's a hybrid intent search. So we ended up dividing it into, at the top, the what is, and then why and when to use it, different ways to use it, etc. You can take a screenshot of that, or again, I'll email you the slides. Here's one other example. So this was another real topic that I found for another client. Sample feedback for your manager. They really had a good opportunity to rank. As you can see in this one actually exemplifies a great domain authority gap, because I see 45, 41, 22, and there's a little bit of what I might call a relevance gap here as well too, because I'm not seeing a lot of results that totally answer that exact search very well, which also makes it hard to figure out what to create for the user. So by analyzing the results, and by the way, you should click on all these and look at the actual content that's on those pages to get ideas and inspiration. And looking at that, this is the real outline of what we landed on here. Again, it's a hybrid piece of content. So we saw people looking for positive and negative feedback. We saw people looking for examples. We saw people looking for like how to give it to your boss, from your boss, etc. So this sort of hybrid piece of content does really, really well when the search is ambiguous. Last time we're going to see Alec. Hello, newcomer. How are you? Good. Should I start over and catch you up? Just kidding. This is Alec. Okay. So the last way to categorize is by the content type, or what you might call medium. And what I mean by that is, should you write text? Should you make a video? Use pictures, audio, etc.? And again, this is not super complicated to figure out. You just search Google for what you want to rank for. Again, as long as that keyword fits all the criteria. If you see images at the top, you need images in your article. If you see videos in the search results, you probably need video content in your actual article. This is a quick little aside here. Everyone, if you're a little forward thinking and thinking about maybe SEO in like 2020 or so, or content in 2020, I sort of believe that most people are going to expect an audio version of an article when they land on it. Maybe not next year or the year after, but soon. People are going to want to land on a blog post and listen to it in addition to being able to read it. So this is a post on drift.com. Using my podcasting equipment, I created audio versions of 4 of their blog posts for them. Took the audio, put it in SoundCloud, embedded it on the blog post, and then it just says, want to listen to this post, and the user can click listen. When you're on your mobile device, the cool thing about SoundCloud is you can click play, close your phone, and go about your business and listen to the content. So just an aside, people, if you're into audio or whatever the case is, be thinking about that. Yeah, so what that was a real article they had that existed for like 2 years, and then I created the audio after. I just read the post. Yeah. So.
Does that rank? How did that improve things like substantially, or?
Yeah, I didn't. It was my bad. I didn't really follow up on it. I'm sorry. I'll get back to you on that. Don't tell Drift. But no, I logged in their SoundCloud and I saw that they were getting hundreds of listens. So I know users are using it, which is cool. So was that just like a?
Yeah, we had.
I saw her. Was there a fly? I saw like a.
There was a.
I saw a little wave. I don't know why I decided to format my letters like this. I made a typo in this first slide, and I thought it looked interesting, so I just kept making typos. It's stupid. So I did want to cover product and service pages a little bit. A lot of this talks about content pages, but if you're trying to rank a service page or a product page, I get this question a lot. There's not a ton you would do directly to that page, like at a keyword level. You're not going to stuff keywords in there or like tweak this thing or tweak that thing. But you should be thinking about, again, number one, and you can see a lot of people make this mistake, that's why I keep repeating it, try to rank the right page to begin with. Let's assume you're doing that. Google is looking at task completion on your product or service pages. In other words, how well does the user complete the task they're trying to do when they land on your product or service? Are they actually buying it? So this is where CRO, UX, all that stuff comes into play and actually helps your SEO. You also want to think about boosting the authority of those pages. So when you're doing your content marketing, make sure to link to your products and services, make sure to internally link, create an HTML sitemap, make sure to create link paths to your products and services. It's one of the easiest ways you can improve the visibility of those. Breadcrumbs are great, etc. And then think about like what some companies do, either on a big scale or a small scale. You all know that like one local plumber or the one local pizza shop or dentist that's known for like being the, you know, carpenter in your area or the dentist in your area. And we all know Airbnb is being like a bed and breakfast now, right? Like nobody types bed and breakfast anymore. In fact, if you go to Google Trends, bed and breakfast went down like that, and Airbnbs go up. Like people use Airbnb as like a word beyond the brand. So that's a great way to rank your product and services, is also just be known for your product and service. I know it's a very like in the clouds high level thing, but it's kind of how Google's working. Okay, the third problem is after you decide on the keyword and you're like, great, and then you have a page, and you're like, great, I'm going to create the right page, I still see problems. And, sorry, I'm laughing at Steve Carell. I put this in here because the problems are your websites. The problems are the designs, the content, the annoying things that you do to users. And I also included animation of waiters because I think when you have a website, you're creating content, you're creating products and services, you're in, to an extent, the service business. You should be thinking about making the user's experience at least frictionless, if not enjoyable. They're obviously not doing that. So I hate to kind of use this example, but in the circles of where I'm paying attention to, for better or for worse, Neil's site and marketing has become known as a little bit the poster child of doing annoying things, such as this like notification thing, such as like I go to his homepage and it's just like a big picture of Neil with like the big call to actions and buttons. And so this is an example of what not to do if you don't want to annoy your users. Again, it's weird that a search engine website, and I hope no one like knows anybody at Search Engine Journal, I'm not like indirectly offending somebody, but you know, you go here and there's just ads, and I'm like, okay, great example, I see ads. And then I go to click on something and this big thing pops up. And I'm like, okay, great, I've got my example, 2 annoying things happen. I go to leave, and then that happens. I'm like, all right, it's just really terrible. So don't do those things. They annoy people and they actually do hurt your rankings. Google has a direct ranking suppression on mobile pop-ups. So if people search and they land on your site from mobile and there's a pop-up, Google may derank you. Anybody know what site this is? I guess it says it right there. This is Mashable. Did anybody hear about how Mashable got a huge, not penalty, but they lost a ton of traffic in the last year or so? Anybody hear about that? There was a big article, they were interviewing the owners were like, oh, we're going to invest in SEO and do quality content, get our rankings back. And I took one look at Mashable's site, and they could post all the quality content they want, but the big elephant in the room is that right sidebar. This is me zoomed out like to 20%, I think, on Mashable.com on my desktop, and I counted 33 ad blocks, or like things pointing to stuff that had nothing to do with the article, nothing to do with what I as the user want, and it's visually bigger than the actual content. And it's like, okay, sorry Mashable, you can do all of the quality content you want, but unless you fix that mess, you're not going to help your rankings, and you're just going to keep annoying users, and that's why nobody apparently likes Mashable as much. So what I want to do is get a volunteer to share your website, and I'm going to do a little run through and just pick out anything in 2 minutes that I see that could be improved, kind of layout, UX, design-wise, etc. Preferably somebody with a blog, where I could look at like a blog article. So, more free advice. Anybody with a blog you want to share? Yeah?
Newportout.com, and there's a blog on there.
What is it? Newport?
Newportout.com.
Okay, I'm going to search it here. Newport.
Sure, yeah.
See if you rank for the brand. Okay, great. And there's a blog. I am, right? Alright, so where do I go for...
See if you can find the blog. No, it's along the top there.
All this is content. Yep.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Do we discover another issue here? Okay. So are these all articles?
See the recent posts? That's the blog.
Oh,
no,
okay.
those, yeah.
What just happened?
You went to another page called... it's kind of like It's a travel directory of different types of
Yeah.
services.
So is there like an article that I can find?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Along the top, there's
Yeah.
or on that recent post. Those are all
Okay.
blogs.
Completely failing it. I do use a computer. Alright, there we go.
Yeah.
It's the Wi-Fi. There's a delay in the Wi-Fi. Okay. I clicked.
You did.
Okay. Is the clock running? Oh, already 10 seconds in. Alright. So, first thing is putting an author on here. I would definitely, super important now with Google, especially the last update, you definitely need an author listed to show trust, credibility, etc. Another thing I would do is like take in the line width a little bit. There's like an actual, it's like 150 characters or something that's a good tested width. That's a little wide, so the user's eye can't track easily down. So another thing is I would make the font a little darker. That kind of gray on the white is tricky for people to read. And people are always like, why are you telling me about fonts? This all helps your SEO, right? Because you're improving the user experience. I would make your headings bigger, right? So the user that's scanning this can see, okay, this is like a new heading, a new section, etc. So go in, format the H2s, the H3s, make those bigger as well. I would also try to bump down the size of your top images. And then even consider, this image probably supports the article a little bit, but if there's images that are just there as like a stock photo or something that don't really support what's in the article, you can even just remove that. And the reason why is I've worked on many sites in the last few years that the content's bumped down below the fold, and that hurts your rankings as well. Using breadcrumbs, so that's good. Share buttons. Yeah, I mean, you can even pull the content up by removing some of the white space even. Super exciting over there. Cover of the book. I would also consider if you have engaged readers or you would like more engaged readers using commenting. Google said many times it is a ranking factor. 5 seconds left. It's a sign of their content quality. It's part of their content quality algorithm. So I would consider adding comments. One last thing. This is a trick for everyone. If you use commenting, and I'll get to that in 1 second, leave the first comment. And that helps readers get started with the commenting. I know commenting is not as, like, people aren't doing it as much, but I still see comments happening. So leave the first comment, show the user that you're there, you're paying attention, you're ready to converse with them. And then when people do reply to your comments or leave comments, make sure to reply back, etc. One question? Do you work with it? Oh, you're just curious? Yeah, it looks like it's in a bold P tag, so it's not even in. Right. Yeah, maybe you didn't click header in WordPress. Yeah. Yeah. You didn't expect to get so much advice, huh?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump back to that. That was a great example, by the way. Thank you. How are we doing on time, Sue? Sue, you in the house? 5 minutes? Okay, I think I'm going to fly through the rest. Do I have time for a few questions after that? Okay. So I want to show some examples of what to do in your content and in your articles. This is a Student Loan Hero. The student loan space is like everyone's on guard, right? Nobody trusts financial websites or student loan websites. There's a lot of scams out there. So if you're in an industry like that, or even if not, it's good to think about this. They've got that bolded stuff down below the photo. It says, we've got your back, Student Loan Heroes, free website, blah, blah, blah. You can click read more. And they're working against the inherent distrust in this content in this industry. This is healthline.com. Most health sites lost all their traffic in the last Google update. Healthline's traffic went up and to the right a lot. So I would definitely look at them for some examples of what people are doing right. Not everything, but I'm going to point out a few things here. So number one is, up in the top left, it says evidence-based. And that's super important now because especially in medical and financial spaces, Google is very, very hard on those types of sites to be fact-based and have evidence. They call it your money or your life. That's what they call it in their internal user guidelines. And then they also show, like I said on your site, show the author, have a little headshot. It's listing his credentials. You can click, you can go to his profile. That's super important now as well. This is the helpline again, so once I click evidence-based, now it's giving me more information about why I can trust this website. So whether you're a dentist or a plumber or selling a service or a product, you should all be thinking about trust, because this is a really, really important factor now. What can you do to convey trust? And this is a great way to do that. Again, Healthline. I screen capped every header and just put it in one slide here. The point of this is to show how well structured and thought out their article is. This is a what is or definition intent search. What is carb cycling? And then they've really broken it down well. And it's almost like they went to Google, did carb cycling, pulled all the suggestions, and used those as headers. And then that's how they structured their content. They didn't literally do that, but it's a very similar thought process. Healthline, 2 more slides for Healthline. They have a great summary of every section. It says bottom line, and if me as the user, and you probably know most users on the web, they don't read every word. They want to scan, pick out what they want. This is a great way to show a summary of each section, and it's very easy to pick out, and it's very well summarized. Finding Healthline again. They're giving the user what to do next. They're giving you the articles that you would be most interested in. If you're on carb cycling, what do you want to read about next? And fasting is like a complete content match for that. Another site in the student debt space. I've worked with the site for a little while, helped them out a little bit. See those links on the right? These are helpful navigational elements that you can put on the side of your content. And get real rowdy over there. And I try to fight back the volume. Can everyone still hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, all right. I don't want to like rain on their party, but yeah, links, SEO. If you can add a useful navigation like this, Google calls this supplementary content. They really look at this. They look for how useful is your supplementary content. The navigation, the top menu, the footer, the sidebars. Is that stuff users are actually clicking on? What not to put in the sidebar is popular posts or posts with recent comments. Like, no users care about that. I don't know the last time I clicked on a top posts link, right? But as a user, if I'm researching loan forgiveness, that stuff's interesting because it's telling me what to do next. And then again, Danny Sullivan. So again, last week. So I've been talking about, thinking about the journey of the searcher for like a few years. And then I love when Danny Sullivan came out with this, and he said, search is a journey. Google's thinking about this. This really emphasizes the fact that your aim shouldn't be to rank for like a static piece of content. The user comes to that, they gets what they want to leave. Your aim should be to be a destination that they can arrive at, and then realize that you can help them further along their journey. Your goal is to get them out of Google and into your site. You can do that with the internal links. You can do that by not being annoying with pop-ups. And this is something Danny mentioned. Google's going to be introducing these activity cards, which actually will bring you back into prior searches you were doing. So it's a very interesting new development there. A couple more examples. Wirecutter's great. If you put a lot of effort into something, tell the users that you've done so. They say, we've spent hundreds of hours researching audio gear. If I land in a site, I've never heard of it, never heard of the author, I've never been there before, how do I know how much effort was put into something? How do I know I can trust the information there? And one of the best ways to convey that to your reader is just to tell them exactly the effort you've put into something. You can just take a picture of these. I mentioned a bunch of these things to include in your content. I have a video there where I go through all those tips very specifically, and then screen cap that as well. It's just some other things to think about for design and UX. And that's it. So happy to take questions if people can still hear me, or I'll be mingling so you can ask me questions, one-on-one. But I guess we'll take a couple of questions right now. Yeah.
Well, in terms of pop-ups, are pop-up videos kosher versus pop-ups for advertising?
So as a direct ranking factor, you don't want to do any pop-ups from a mobile search. That's like a no-go for a direct ranking factor. Then you just want to ask yourself, how much do you want to annoy the user versus be helpful? Now, if that pop-up is really, really helpful for that user because they want a video, you want them to see that front and center, then go for it, right?
Yeah.
But if that, again, it's all about aligning it to the search intent of that keyword that you're ranking for. So if the user does not want a video, you have no indication of that, I would not do a video pop-up. And you want to consider maybe not having an autoplay, or maybe having it muted when it plays, right? Because you don't want to surprise users. Hate to be like surprised.
This is click to pop up.
What's that?
This is click to pop up.
Oh, okay, click to pop-up's even better. So then, the bottom line, like, give the user control, give the user autonomy over the functionality of it, and don't surprise them with like loud noises and stuff like that. Yeah. Okay, maybe one or two more questions. Well, it doesn't get too loud, and then I'll take some. Yeah. So again, Google has this thing called the purpose of the page. Ted's question was, how do you know how long to make an article? Google talks about the purpose of the page, and people hate this answer, but it like depends. Like by again defining the keyword, knowing what type of page you should have for that, and then just asking yourself, what is the best result for the user? Like, how many words do I need to adequately explain this thing to the user? And that's your answer. And people hate that because it's like, other SEOs and studies will be like, 1,500 words or 1,200. There's no answer. It's just however long satisfies that user's intent. Do we have one more on the mic? And then no? Going once? Going twice? Yeah.
Would you recommend a plugin for people opportunities to explore your site? So is there a plugin?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm lucky. My clients just have like a developer install it. So yeah, you can probably search for a WordPress plugin or something.
Anybody else have any other
Ideas for related post plugins? Anybody know?
Maybe you can pull in the category or the tag.
Yeah, it probably searches on that.
The category or the tag, and say I've only those posts show up on me.
Yeah. So I think we'll wrap it up as far as me being on the mic, but I'll take questions as we mingle and stuff. So that's it.
Thanks, Dan.
So a good tip from Matt Graves back there, Jetpack has a related posts plugin for WordPress. Thank you so much, Dan. This is great, as always. And yeah, so if you're interested in past talks like this, even Dan's probably past talk is on the website. Become a member. You can have access to, we have 20 plus talks on there. And enjoy from your couch, learn from your couch. And let me know any questions, suggestions. I'm planning programming for 2019. So if you have any ideas and topics that you want to hear about, I'm happy to arrange them. And thanks so much, everybody, for coming. Thanks. No, you were not. I was like,